Hey everyone, welcome back to another race recap with me, Arlen Slaymaker, and today we're at Portland Trophy Cup Cyclocross race. This is back up at the Portland International Raceway where I had some of the road races, and we just had a fast start. I finally figured it out and got to the start area a good 15 minutes ahead of time to make sure I got on the front row, because starting in the second or third row makes it very difficult, and there's no gridding besides just whoever gets there first. So I took the advantage of that and got there first. So I started on the front row, zoomed up, and right now I'm sitting in about fourth or fifth position. I finally have a cyclocross bike that has tubeless tires on it. The wheels are not tubeless ready, so I was having a little bit of trouble with them burping in tight corners or after I'd hop on after the barriers, but they seem to work pretty well. So I was pretty happy with that. A few races earlier, I'd been using tubes and got flat. So at least this time I knew I wasn't going to get a flat because of my non-tubeless tires. So we're going to just take a quick lap through the course. I think I'm going to do the whole course 5 or 6 times. And that should end up around 40-45 minutes. Unfortunately, it gets dark pretty quickly, so we'll only have about 1 or 1.5 laps in the light, and you can already see the sun is going down. Those were the first set of barriers, hopped over, and now we're on the back section of the course. It's pretty fast through these grassy turns. None of them are too tight, and it's a little bumpy, but for the most part, you can catch up and put down some power here, which I was trying to do, trying to stay in touch with the lead few people. As you can see to the right there, all the people that did not get a front row start are stuck behind, and some of them are still even on the pavement. So that's a solid, 30, 40 seconds behind already, just because you have to ride single file through all of these turns. Right ahead of me is Ken there. He's on his mountain bike because he doesn't have a cross bike. And for the first 1 or 2 laps, he was absolutely ripping. But I think the extra weight and those wider tires definitely slowed him down eventually, but for the time being, he was a good wheel to follow. Today, I'm running the Challenge Baby Limas tire, which is sort of their in-between mud and dry tire. There's probably a descriptive word for it that they would use, but it's essentially their small mud tire. And I got it because I wanted to get the Donnelly PDX, which is aptly named after Portland, because it's pretty perfect for all the semi-wet conditions. But all the stores were out of them at this point because this was halfway through the cyclocross season, and they're quite a popular tire. So we just finished that grassy section. Now we're onto this long straightaway where you just have to put your head down and grind away for a few seconds. And then it's into the most fun, or some of the more fun sections where you swoop down and there's some barriers. So I'm pretty excited about this part. These tight turns I'm still working on. The bike I was riding was a borrowed cyclocross, or a borrowed Trek, it's an old Trek cyclocross commuter bike. And so I've made it as race ready as I can, but it is maybe not the ideal cyclocross bike, but it works well enough, and I was happy just to be out here racing. A few seconds before, you saw Tyler on the right side. His chain came off. He usually does really well, and pretty soon we're going to see him zoom by again, and I try to hold on his wheel, which, as we will see, you'll see exactly how well I can hold onto his wheel. Let's just say he's a very good road racer, and he's got enough power to zoom to pull out some time on the straight sections and in the corners. I had trouble with this little uphill, even going in pretty slow. It was a little slippery, and it's a really tight turn. It's hard to tell on the GoPro, but it's hard to get traction, and I would pretty much use the entire course putting my bars over the tape each lap around. So these tight corners over here, there's a bunch of tight corners in a row, and you just have to really trust your bike and your tires, which I didn't completely have. Most of these turns, I honestly would just take a foot out, because I found that at least I could go pretty fast through them, and if I got a good clip in, then it was as fast as the people who could keep their feet up and had a little more confidence. But unfortunately, every single time I raced my cyclocross bike, I had a different setup as I was getting it put together and getting the correct tires for it. So I still didn't have a feel for the bike. And because of that, I didn't always carry the most speed through corners. But that was something I was trying to work on throughout the race and through the next race and the one after that. I only did a handful of cyclocross races this year. I got sort of burnt out of them pretty quickly because of all the extra driving to them and cleaning up, and it takes a big toll. That corner is deceivingly difficult. You can't tell from the GoPro, but it slants away left, very steep, and there's a post to the right. And there's only one line, and if you get off it slightly, then you slide out and you can't carry any speed and you have to get off. I think later, in this race, I just ended up riding it. But in a lot of the other races, because this is a weekly series, so the course is pretty much the same, I ended up just dismounting, running around it. Maybe it was like a quarter second slower, but at least I knew I wasn't going to have to get off and lose a bunch of time. And now we're coming into this last sort of section, the last part of the course, which is some faster turns. We'll have a little jump, which is fun. I can't remember if I hit the jump. I was maybe a little worried about burping my tubeless tires. So I think I may have jumped a small barrier. But either way, you come around these corners quite fast. I try to stay on the left grassy side, and you saw I head to the right grassy side and then back to the left because I know I can find grip there. And sometimes it's a slightly longer distance, but because you have the grip, you don't have to slow down as much, and you can keep pedaling and keep your speed up. So now we're back to the start finish, which is some pavement, some gravel, and then we'll have a long pavement section before that sharp left turn that we saw right at the beginning. So that was one lap at the Portland Trophy Cup Cyclocross race. Pretty soon, as I said, it will be fully dark. I have my light on, but the GoPro doesn't show up super well, even with my pretty bright light. I will put in the end of the race, which is just me crossing the line solo. It's not particularly interesting, but at the end, might as well want to see it. But Tyler just passed me by, and Bertrand right in front of me in the more colorful Beachy Cleista kit. Tyler he was set back because his chain fell off, and that took like a little bit of time to get back on, and it's hard to make up spots. So he was behind me that first lap, and now I'm like, oh, perfect. Tyler is a wheel I want to hold on to, and Bertrand. They usually both get top 5 in these Cat 3 races. So I knew I wanted to stick on their wheels and see what I could do, because so far I had never put a race together. A lot of times I had started off in the top 5. 2 races before this was quite muddy, but I was running tubes at like 24 psi and was great for 3 laps until I flatted, which I figured was inevitable, but I wanted to have a good race anyway, so it was a great time, even though I didn't end up finishing the race. But now I'm back, and I think I'm not going to get a flat because I have tubeless. I finally have ridden my bike like more than 3 or 4 times, maybe only 5 or 6, but still. I'm a little more comfortable on it, and it's not super wet, because I find that I'm not super used to riding in the wet, muddy conditions, so the drier it is, the faster I can go, because the closer it is to mountain biking, which is something I do far more often. So right here, I'm thinking about passing Bertrand. He does not get the edge on me, and I can get my bars in front of his and get him through the corner. And now my goal is just to catch up to Tyler and try to stick on his wheel. But I almost catch up through that corner, and then this long straightaway comes, and you can just see how fast he accelerates away from me. And I'm trying pretty hard to stay on his wheel. Unfortunately, I don't have heart rate or power data for this race because this bike doesn't have a power meter, and I think at this point my heart rate monitor had already broken which I just discovered a few days ago, was not broken and actually just needed a battery. And the one I put into it was just already out of battery. So got that fixed. But either way, I was going as hard as I could to catch up to Tyler because I knew he was the ticket to bring me up to the front. Even though maybe that was a little unrealistic, seeing as I already couldn't see the front and I already can barely see Tyler. So I found out pretty quickly that I was not going to be able to hold Tyler's wheel, but I did want to hold off Bertrand from catching me from behind. So I still rode the rest of the race pretty hard, and I found I had a pretty decent race. The cornering, I could definitely work on some more, but I didn't practice my cyclocross skills outside of races, so I wasn't super invested in actually improving too much. Unlike for mountain bike races, road races, where I do actually put in a lot of time training on those bikes and a lot of time practicing cornering, all the different skills. But cyclocross was mainly just for fun for me. After the road season, just getting out on the bike and having fun in the mud. So that was my main goal. And as long as I had fun in a race, then I considered it a success, which was it was refreshing because I didn't put any pressure on myself like I might do for races where I've specifically been training for them for many hours. So that made these Portland Trophy Cup cyclocross races some really fun times this fall, and I was happy to have done 4 or 5. And after the Trophy Cup series ended, I did a few Cyclocross Crusades races. Those are another series, sort of like the bigger series that is in different locations around Oregon, but I just found I lacked the motivation to get out to the races, clean my bike, because that's something I don't enjoy doing too much. But with cyclocross, you end up having to clean it so many times after each race when it's muddy. But let's see what's going on now. It's now just about too dark for you to see much of the course, so I hope you enjoyed watching this video. This is going to be the only cyclocross video for the year. I had a lot of trouble with camera settings, so I hope you enjoyed watching it. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll have another video out in 2 weeks, probably another road race. I have some footage of mountain biking, but not races, so I might try to put that into a little bit of an edit, showcase some of Oregon's mountain bike trails. But that's all for now. See you in 2 weeks.